The next part of the chapter talks about continued proportion. So before we solve the question based on continued proportion, we'll try to understand what is continued proportion here. See, we had studied that the ratio between A and B is written as A is to B, and ratio between C and D is written as C is to D. But, okay, no but here. And if these two ratios are equal, we write a proportion sign between the same and we say these two are proportional. In other words, we can write the same as A is to B, means A upon B, and this proportional will become equal to C upon D. Now, what do we see in these? Is the same thing, writing this A is to B proportional to C is to D is written in this manner. You are aware of that. So, what do we see in that? There are four terms in it. First term, second term, third term, and fourth term. And they're all distinct four terms here, right? You know that, yes, we call antecedent and the consequent. These are antecedent here, and the others are consequent. You know about that. But in continued proportion, okay, remember there are four terms in it. First term, second term, third term, and fourth term. This one. But in continued proportion, there will be, say, like this. A is to B is equal to B is to C. So how many terms are there? A, B, and C. Three terms. To understand this better and you don't commit any mistake in future, you can always think, okay, write like this. If it is a continued term, A, B, B, and C. Why so? Because the ratio of A is to B is equal to ratio of B is to C. Although there are three terms only, first term, second term, and third term, we are writing B two times, and this is how it looks like, right? Because if we are writing two different ratios, there has to be four terms. I know that B is getting repeated here in it, so we can write it separately, A, B, B, C now. So that becomes what? A is to B and is equal to B is to C. Okay, they have given some terms about it, some terminologies. Second term, second quantity is called B in this case, and is called mean proportion. What do we call it as? Mean proportion, right? Fine, because it lies in between. I'll tell you why. Say, if you multiply, you will get what? B into B, B square is equal to A into C. So we call it as a mean proportion. A and C are third quantity, and okay, A and C, these are called third quantities. You can see this is the third quantity, this is the middle one, is called mean proportion. What do we call it as? Mean proportion. Fine. Now C is called the third proportion to A and B. See, A will be here, okay, is the first, we can call it as, right? C is called the third proportion to A and B. So remember, this is the third proportion. Say sometimes you will get a question to find the third proportion, mean proportion. So we can take it as this is the first, this is the second, and this is the third. So they're asking you find the third proportion. So we can call C is the third proportion of A and also B. Yes, both. So understood the point here? So what do we have here is, okay, I'm again putting it. Just 1 second. Okay. should go off. All right. Now, once again, yeah. So just to make it a revision here, continued proportion will always have three terms, A, B, and C. You can rewrite it as A is to B, where is proportional to B is to C. So basically I'm writing A, B, and B and C. It will make your job easier. C is always called the third proportion, and B is always called the mean proportion. As simple as that. Now coming to the questions that we have, let's solve it here. They're saying the fourth proportion, find the fourth proportion here. So what is the fourth proportion? So right here, 3, 6, 4.5. So we'll take, do not know the fourth one, so take it as x. So this is what they're asking. In that case, it will be 3 upon 6. I'm doing the first question for you. 3 upon 6 is equal to 4.5 upon x. So find the value of x in it. So x will be equal to 4.5 into 6 upon 3. So that will give you 9 here. So that's the first part of it. Then they're asking find the mean proportion between 6.25 and 0.16. Mean proportion. So it means it is like this. A is to B and proportional to B is to C. This is a question mark. D is to be found out. So what is A they have given you is 6.25, right, is to B, and proportional to B is to C, which is 0.16. This is the second question that we are doing now. So what is, how do we write it? 6.25 upon B is equal to B upon 0.16, or we can call it as B square is equal to 6.25 into 0.16. Difficult calculation in this case. So what to do is, what we can do is we can make it easier. How? B square is equal to 6.25 can be written as 625 upon 100 and into 16 upon 100 here. So B square will be written as 25 square upon 10 square and into 4 square by 10 square. So I can write B square is equal to 25 into 4 upon, right, 10 into 10, and this all thing have got square, so we can write it here. We can write it as B square is equal to, square will get cancelled, right? So why to carry so long? So B is equal to 25 into 4 is 100 upon 100 is equal to 1. So answer here will be 1 in it. Okay, so square root of this one is going to be simply 1. And what if you multiply them? I think you should get 1. If you multiply, let's see. Let's see what happens here. I'm opening it up to check. 6.25 into 0.16, that gives you 1. So which means it is correct here. The third question that we have is the third proportion of this one, important one. So we'll do the third one here. Third proportion means 1.2 is there. Second term is 1.8. And third one we do not know is going to be x. So how to solve it? Now see, so first term, second term, third term. It's not the second, third term. I have to rewrite like this: 1.2 because the third proportion they're asking, right? And second will be 1.8. Third will be again it's not 1.8. Third will be again 1.8, and the fourth one will be x in this case, right? So third proportion they're asking basically it is a continued proportion here. So it will become 1.2 upon 1.8 is equal to 1.8 upon x. So if you solve it, becomes what? X is equal to 1.8 into 1.8 upon 1.2. So move the decimal here, it becomes this much. So 18 into, I can write it here as 1.8 upon 12. 6 2s are 18, 6 3s are 18, 6 2s are 12, and this will give you 0.9. So 9 3s are 27. So you will get it as, this will be, x here will be 9 3s are 27, decimal after this. So x is 2.7 here. So if you put it, you will get that value done. So just to check it, let's check it here. 1.2 upon 1.8, is it equal to 1.8 upon 2.7? So let's check it. Decimal can go up because one digit we can remove from denominator and numerator. 2 and 3. 9 2s are 18 and 9 3s are 27. So we get 2 is to 3, and here also we get 2 is to 3. It means correct. Fine. So 1.2 and 1 is 1 upon 8. Remember, if the same question, if they are asking you find the second proportion, the mean proportion, then for example in this question only, if they ask you what is the mean proportion here, so mean proportion here will be say 1.2, and we will put x in between and 1.8. We know how to do that. 1.2 upon x is equal to x upon 1.8. So x square will be equal to 1.2 into 1.8, and then you can find x is equal to under root of 1.2 into 1.8 here. Clear? So remember, it depends upon the question. If they're asking you what is the mean proportion, then you have to insert x in between. If they're asking third proportion, it will be the third member, and this is how you have to solve it.